Is anyone else completely sick and tired of living in America where you're expected to work your entire life? Like, we are not here to work. Our jobs are not our lives. Our jobs are not our purpose. Like, everyone asks me, like, what's your job? What are you doing with your life? Like, I'm just trying to save enough and get passive income so I can go travel the world and start my life. Like, everyone thinks their purpose is to work. Like, you get done with high school, then you go to college for 4 years, then you're $30,000 in debt, and then you're trying to find a job just so you can pay off that debt over the next 3 years. And then what? Then you're making enough money just to pay your mortgage and afford groceries and then pay for kids. And then before you know it, you're 60 and you're retiring and your body hurts because of your job and you didn't do anything that you wanted to do. And that's our life. That's what you're expected to do. And if you break out of that, then people are going to judge you and think you're weird or you're crazy or you're a hippie. I'm so sick of it. America needs to make a change. Something needs to change because people are not happy here. People are not living their dreams. People are not living their life. They are working. They think that their work is their life. It is not that way.
Hello guys, welcome once again to AfriPost. I hope wherever you're watching us from, you're having a great time. Now, the election of Donald Trump in United States is really affecting whites, and not to the positive but to the negative. The reality check is now dawning on many white people that they made a big mistake and that Trump was not an option. Take a listen to some of the complaints that most Americans, especially white, have given out about Trump.
All right, Trumpers, come and get me. Chaos is at its finest with Donald Trump. He's on Air Force One. He can't answer the questions about this war. He can't answer why he was leaving the G7. He can't answer any questions. He's constantly deflecting. This is an administration that has run this country in the ground, and it's so important for people to know that because this is what affects our lives. This affects our groceries, our gas, our employment, our taxes, our banking, the investments. This man controls way too much to not know anything. I don't think he wipes his own ass. I don't even think he knows how to do that. And we have to get that message out there that this guy will destroy this planet in 4 years if we don't get a handle on it. And it's going to continue to get bad. And this man is the guy that y'all are going to trust, the MAGAs, to put their finger on the nuclear button. I can't with this. It makes no sense that you would trust a man that is a crooked, slummy businessman to make those decisions. It shows your incompetency.
Well, for all you Trump supporters out there, I wonder if you're still happy with your vote. Right now, we have ICE agents arresting candidates for mayor in New York City. We have Russia dropping cluster bombs on Ukraine in the middle of the night, while the whole entire world is distracted with this whole Israel-Iran stuff. We have Donald Trump, who is now saying that he doesn't give a shit what Tulsi Gabbard says, because Tulsi Gabbard said that Iran is not even close to creating a nuclear weapon, but Trump thinks that we are. And so it is looking more and more like by tomorrow morning, the United States will be bombing Iran. Trump seems to have his finger right on the button, and he's just fucking itching to pull it. Are you still happy with your vote? I thought your great alleged president was the president of peace, no new wars. Isn't that what everybody kept telling us? And none of these wars would have started if he was president. But here we are. Israel bombing the shit out of Iran, Iran bombing the shit out of Israel, and now we are on the cusp of the United States getting involved. So MAGA, is this what you wanted? Is this what you support? Are you still happy with your goddamn vote? Are you still happy with Trump getting ready to launch strikes against Iran and to send more American troops overseas to the Middle East? I hope this is what you voted for, and I hope you're having the day that you deserve. Like, share, follow for more. This is Grim with Get the Rant, and I'll see you all in the next video.
So I went to the No Kings protest in the small town that I live in central Texas. And this is a deep red town of about 20,000 people. It has a history as a probable sundown town. And I say probable because there were no laws on the books, but there are enough stories. And I would say even today, there are some issues with racism. My daughter has reported a teacher for racism, and in my own neighborhood, within the community page on the Book of Faces, there was a time when someone posted a photo of a black woman just walking, and told everyone that there was a suspicious person casing houses, and I had to jump in and respond that that woman was actually my neighbor, and she walks the neighborhood every day. There's nothing suspicious about her. She literally lives next door to me. But just to set the stage as far as what kind of town this is, I was expecting that there would maybe be 20 or 30 people. There were over 500 that showed up, and I think that that's a really positive sign. And we did get a lot of honks and thumbs up. I think there are a lot of closeted people who are opposed to the administration. I know that people are afraid to speak out here because of the level of aggressive response and the potential for violence. I have never been flipped off so much in my life as I was at this protest, which is fine. It's fine. But people get very, very hostile. And I'll show you the sign that I held. I wanted to call out the MAGA Christians because this town sees itself as very traditional, evangelical Christian. To me, it screams hypocrisy. Anyway, 500 I know is a tiny, tiny percentage in a town of 20,000. But given that this is a blood red town, deeply, deeply enmeshed in the cult, I would say that 500 is actually a pretty decent turnout.
I just need to double down on something I said last night, which is when something awful and horrific happens on American soil, this entire regime, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, the entire cabinet, Peter Thiel, Stephen Miller, the Heritage Foundation, and every Republican in Congress who is currently in the majority and has the power to impeach Donald Trump yesterday, is going to have blood on their hands. Think about the reality of our situation. It is currently 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time as I'm making this video, and an hour ago, Donald Trump, our president, the person who is supposed to be the leader of the free world and his regime, because we know he doesn't write all of this himself, said, "We know exactly where the so-called, quote, supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter." I think we have this warped sense of what all of the Middle East is. I think because so many of us experienced 9/11 and saw so much footage of literal like caves in the desert with men wearing turbans and carrying around pew-pews, like we don't understand. Iran is a developed nation. There are people living there just like you and I who live lives just like you and I. And just like you and I, they don't want this, just like we don't want this. This country is not some stereotype, some fear-mongering story that has been told to us for decades now. And if you think that the United States, the soil that we stand on, is untouchable by people living in the Middle East who wish to do us harm, then you're living in a la-la land. Things like this do not just ignite the flames overseas. They don't just put civilians in the Middle East at risk, and they don't just put our men and women in uniform at risk. This, unfortunately, is yet again unprecedented. We have our nation's leader, or whoever is writing for him on Truth Social, publicly taunting another leader who has nuclear weapons on a social media platform. Where's all the Jill Stein voters now? Where's all of the Republicans who were all about the price of eggs? We have our lives on the line here, guys. This is not a joke. It's not funny. And I don't know how to even end this video, so I'll just end it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
So wait, now ICE is going to be targeting migrants who are here illegally working on farms and in restaurants and in hotels?
Homeland Security is saying that ICE is going to start enforcing in hotels and farms again. Is that a change of course from last week?
Well, we're going to look everywhere, but I think the biggest problem is the inner cities. We're looking everywhere. There are far more in the inner cities, Democrat-run cities, sadly. And I'm just giving you farm or something else.
So no one's getting exemptions anymore. Everyone is.
Well, everyone's being looked at.
That was the president this morning on Air Force One. Now, this is a complete shift in tone towards migrants who are here illegally working on farms and in the leisure and hospitality industry. Last Thursday, less than a week ago, I reported in this video that the president said this.
Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. You go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
After that statement, Homeland Security sent guidance to immigration agents fanned out across the country, directing them to hold off on worksite enforcement investigations and operations on farms and in restaurants and at hotels. But yesterday, immigration enforcement reportedly got a new directive. Homeland Security changed the guidance again and now says ICE has the green light to go back into work sites on farms, into hotels and restaurants to target any migrant who is here illegally. And that change was confirmed when the president today said, we're going to look everywhere. He did not take that same strong stance he did last week. There is definitely a difference now. Now, according to his comments today on Air Force One and in a lengthy post he put on his social media page, while the president may be changing his mind about immigration enforcement on farms and in the leisure and hospitality industry, he's also stepping up his ICE raids with a specific focus on Democratic-led states. He said that he has directed ICE to expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. And the fact is, if the big beautiful bill is passed, we are only going to see more of these raids, bigger raids in more cities across the country. Why? Well, as I've been reporting, the federal government does not have the funds to really expand these ICE raids and deportation efforts on the level that President Trump wants. But now, the big beautiful bill, if it's passed, would absolutely change that. That's because late last week, Senate Republicans in both the Judiciary and Homeland Security committees released their sections of the big beautiful bill. Between the two, they have added about $80 billion of new money to conduct more ICE raids in more cities, to get more equipment, to hire more officers, to build new detention facilities, to expand the border wall, and to secure biometric entry and exit systems at ports of entry. And that $80 billion is specifically marked for immigration enforcement for ICE, Border Patrol, and the Department of Justice. And that money is on top of their normal budgets. So how would this money be spent? Well, I can't go through everything, but according to the text released from both of the committees, some of the biggest funding allocations are $30 billion for ICE to hire and train new personnel specifically to carry out immigration enforcement activities, performance, signing and retention bonuses, and transportation costs to deport migrants from the country. $22.5 billion for ICE to expand detention capacity for individual migrants and migrant families. $6.5 billion for Customs and Border Protection for the construction or improvement of the border wall system. $3.5 billion for the Department of Justice to award grants to states and local governments to locate and apprehend migrants who are in the country illegally or who have committed crimes. More than $3 billion for the Department of Justice to hire more immigration judges and staff, investigate and prosecute immigration-related crimes, and hire more lawyers to prosecute more migrants. And then there is that $288 million in the bill for what's being called biometric entry and exit systems at ports of entry. But the bill also prohibits the use of these funds to surveil U.S. citizens and prohibits the creation of any kind of biometric database that includes U.S. citizens. So if you want to see what else this money is going to be used for and how they've allocated it, I'm going to email the documents from the Senate Judiciary and Homeland Security committees out to you tonight in my Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up.
It's 4 p.m. Eastern time, and 3 hours ago, Trump posted unconditional surrender, all in caps, for Iran. I imagine that's who this is directed at. And he did another post saying we had total control of the skies, meaning Israel and the United States. I guess we're just totally in this now. And he threatened the supreme leader, Ayatollah, of Iran. He said they know where he's at, but he's safe for now. They're not going to take him out, kill him, and he's safe. But his patience is wearing thin, and that Iran needs to stop targeting civilians. So, I mean, this is just spiraling out of control. And probably the worst and most scary part about it is Trump's post of this text he got from Mike Huckabee, who is his envoy to the Middle East. And this just scared the shit out of me. Mike Huckabee's text reads, "Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, PA, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters. His voice," referring to the Almighty God. "I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's." What this suggests is that Trump's decision whether to strike Iran's nuclear facility or not, or whether or not to take out the supreme leader of Iran, rests with a voice from heaven that's going to come into Trump's head. We're so cooked. Let me know what you guys think about this. Comment, like, share, spread the word. Maybe if he hears enough voices from the American people about this, from his supporters that don't want another war, maybe that voice will be more powerful than the one that will magically come into his head from God. No offense to anyone religious, but if God is sending messages to you saying you should drop bombs and kill people, you might want to question your religion.
Hello everyone, I know it's early, but there's a lot here, so it's that time again where I read you True Social so you don't have to. It's a service I provide for free, but if you want to hit all the buttons over here, that'd be great. 59 minutes ago, Donald Trump truthed out, "Unconditional surrender!" I don't know who he's talking to, but it's weird, right? That we have so many wars going on right now. I have no fucking idea which person he wants to surrender. I thought he was supposed to be not a warmonger. Right. That's what the MAGA keeps saying. It's too bad that now they're moving the goalposts and saying, well, he's not a warmonger, but he is a warmonger if it's called for. It's good that he knows how to make you think that it's called for. An hour ago, he truthed out, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but is safe there." Huh? "We are not going to take him out. Kill. At least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Why is he speaking in the royal we? He is not a king. So you know where the supreme leader is, but you're not going to attack him. And he's safe there. What? Okay, that's fine. Let's just keep going. All right, another post an hour ago. "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff," in quotes. "Nobody does it better than the good old USA. Nobody blows shit up and kills people like us." That's something to aspire to for the whole planet. 2 hours ago, he tweets out a story. FBI gives Congress intel on alleged Chinese plot to create fake mail-in ballots in 2020. It's got Kash Patel featured prominently. Here's one of him quoting Tom Homan. "I really truly believe that President Trump is doing the right thing for the American people. The big, beautiful bill. We need the Senate to get off their butts and pass the bill. More money means we can do more. We can arrest more public safety threats. We can arrest more national security threats. So Congress needs to pass the bill and give ICE and Border Patrol the tools and resources they need to get this job done." Here's the thing. I need you guys to go back in your minds to just earlier this year. Okay? Just earlier this year. Is your life comfortable for the most part? Has anybody robbed you, tried to kidnap you, abuse you, take over your house, destroy your city, etc.? Have you noticed in the last couple of years that this has become a hellscape? If you said no, then congratulations, you're still connected to reality. We don't require this kind of activity. There has been absolutely nothing happening in our country that would necessitate this kind of violent response. If we had noticed as a collective a significant change in the temperament of our country, and let's take from this MAGA, right? Like if we had noticed a significant change in the temperament of our country, don't you think we'd respond to it? If we saw an invasion of criminals that came in and actually were doing criminal things invasively, like for example, a street gang moving in and taking over a town, we would notice and we would respond. But see, we didn't notice that. We noticed nothing bad before they started doing this, so we don't actually require them to do it. What I'm trying to tell you is the only significant change in the temperament, feeling, vibe of this country, the only significant change that has had a negative effect on it in the last 20 years has been the advent of MAGA. MAGA's the thing that made this country uncomfortable. Prior to them, we were all fine. We were fine. This massive invasion they're talking about has been going on for 30, 40 years. Have you noticed any significant increase in crime in your area due to migrants? No, because it doesn't happen. They are just trying to create reasons and resculpt your memory so that you think that there was a problem. There was never a problem. Another post of Tom Homan. When they double down, we triple down. So the men and women of ICE are going to keep standing up. They're going to keep doing the job. Just following orders. We're going to move on. He's got more posts here of other people saying things because he's doing an appeal to legitimacy. It's a fallacy. He's got more posts from other people. More posts from other people. Because he can't intellectually come up with his own content to justify his actions. Also, he's got dementia and he's not the one running his social media accounts. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. That was posted 8 hours ago. So, look at the time. It is, as of right now, 10:30. So he posted that at 2:30 in the morning. At 2:30 in the morning, when the president is supposed to be asleep because he has to wake up at 6 a.m. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. So he's not trying to stop a war. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table. Would have saved a lot of lives. You know what would have saved a lot of lives? If we hadn't backed Israel's genocide in Gaza. And yet, look here, we're now tearing down the person that's trying to defend Gaza. That's not their only motive. But they're at least ostensibly trying to defend Gaza and say that that is their reason. And he doesn't care about that. Do you see the genociding? Yeah, they do it everywhere they go. Publicity-seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to D.C. to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong, he declares. He has no idea why I'm now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with a ceasefire. Much bigger than that, whether purposely or not. Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. So comforting. So comforting. 13 hours ago, if I didn't put the National Guard into Los Angeles, the place would be burned down to the ground right now. I did incompetent Governor Gavin Newsom, who doesn't have a clue, the favor of a lifetime. One of the worst governors in history. California would not be burning to the ground. If wildfires that took out hundreds of square miles cannot stop us, then this certainly won't. How many sets of riots has Los Angeles had? How many wildfires have hit the state of California? In the last round of wildfires that took out billions of dollars worth of property in Los Angeles, did that stop us from showing up on Saturday? No! So LA was never burning to the ground, has never burned to the ground, and you are in fact insinuating yourself into a situation to make it worse. in violation of the law and your job as president, in violation of all of the strictures on your job as president. You did this. What I'm trying to tell you is that every time he speaks, he's trying to reconstruct your memory of the past. He's trying to reconstruct your memory. We did not require this action. We were all living just fine. We did not require this. California did not require his intervention. We would have done just fine. He is trying to create in you the memory of a problem that justifies what he's doing now. Do not let him reprogram your brain with bullshit.
Today is Tuesday, June 17th, and for the first time in 4 years, we're closer to entering a war than we have ever been as the United States. Donald Trump and his national security team just finished up about an hour-long meeting where afterwards he talked to Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel about whatever they talked about in that meeting. And we don't know what was talked about until Donald Trump actually gets around to telling us through a social media post, or one of his communication secretaries comes out and tells us. But what we know is that it looks like the United States is getting closer to entering the conflict between Israel and Iran on the side of Israel. They said that earlier today, Donald Trump posted that we now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran has good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, but it doesn't compare to American-made. A few minutes later, he said he knows where Iran's supreme leader is and that he's safe for now, but he's an easy target. And then less than an hour after that, he just wrote unconditional surrender in all caps. So it looks like, depending on how that meeting went, will depend on whether or not we take the military equipment and troops that we're moving into the Middle East and enter a war. Now, I graduated high school right in 2002 timeframe, and I went right in the military, and I spent the next 5 years in the Middle East, and that's not a place that I ever want to see again in that type of scenario. And I don't want American citizens, men, women of any age, going there in a conflict. But it looks like Donald Trump, who ran on no new wars, is going to do just that. Send American citizens into the Middle East to fight against an enemy that is not ours.
Hi guys, excuse this appearance. Just came back from physiotherapy. As you all know, I had a hip replacement in March, and things started to go south with that about a month or so ago, probably a couple months ago. So now I'm doing physiotherapy. Thankfully, it's starting to help, but that's not why I'm here. I just wanted to do a little bit of add-on to my serious rant last night, because I was livid. I was absolutely livid. First off, I said, get him the fuck out of my country. Thank God he left on his own. Although it was a G7 summit and he fucks off back to home country to make out war plans. Whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to add on that he accused Trudeau and Obama of ejecting Putin from the G8. Well, if the man actually knew any history or was even aware of politics in any form, because he obviously is as dumb as a stump, he would know that at that time the Prime Minister was not Justin Trudeau. It was Stephen Harper, who happens to be a conservative Prime Minister. You know, like, he just shoots shit out of his mouth without even thinking about what he's saying, or knows, even doesn't even know what he's saying. He hasn't got a damn clue. Just spews shit and then deals with it later, or ignores it when somebody corrects him on it, ignores it. So that's anyway, I just wanted to add that in there. Yes, he was ejected. Putin was ejected, rightfully so, after what he did to Ukraine by annexing Crimea. But it was not Justin Trudeau. And don't get me wrong, I am not a fan of Justin Trudeau. I was never a fan of Justin Trudeau. But I will defend the man when it comes to this, because he did not have anything to do with that.
Well, folks, I'm sure by now you've heard the news. A Trump supporter impersonating a police officer shot and killed Minnesota Democratic State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark early Saturday morning, after shooting Minnesota Democratic Senator John Hoffman 9 times and shooting Senator Hoffman's wife 8 times. Who was the shooter? A Trump supporter. Say it again, a Trump supporter. Yeah, not a Dem. The Trump-loving shooter had a long list of targets. It looks like he was planning to take out a whole bunch of Dems in support of Trump. Yeah, no doubt the poor souls who got shot didn't see it coming. After all, the guy was dressed as a police officer. We're supposed to trust police officers, right? Except, boy, our perception of men in uniform is questionable at best lately, huh? We knew law enforcement had some pretty bad habits, especially when it comes to policing people of color. But up until just recently, it seemed like they were at least somewhat conscientious about hiding it. But ever since the Ice Baby men got the green light to launch a domestic terror campaign, it looks like men in all kinds of uniforms we've been conditioned to trust have stopped trying to look like civil servants at all. Ever since Trump got his hooks in them, it looks like uniformed baby men everywhere are having a contest to see who gets to terrorize the most people. De-escalation is a long-gone concept. Everywhere you look, the authorities are taking out their rage on the public, and seemingly enjoying it. I can't imagine its policy to fire rubber bullets into a peaceful crowd or trample a citizen with a horse. As far as I know, bad-mouthing a cop is protected speech. It sure doesn't justify an entire troop of cops swarming, handcuffing the bad-mouthers, and telling them to go back to their Dem state. But the swarming troop in the video I saw didn't seem to worry they might be chastised for violating people's First Amendment rights. Cops are 3 times more likely to be Republican than Democrat, so maybe they've been wanting to let their partisan anger out on Dems for a long time, and Trump just flipped the switch. But unfortunately, when you put together the videos of law enforcement breaking the law and the fact that a Trump supporter used the uniform to assassinate Americans, inevitably, a lot more Americans are going to be afraid of the forces that are paid to keep them safe. And that's not good for any of us. Trump did that. He made us unsafe in the world and unsafe at home. He inspired a mentally ill man to murder innocent people. And if you're still supporting him, you should wonder what he's doing to your psyche. Because the more you defend indefensible behavior, the more you become unsafe to Americans just like him. Yeah. Well, partisan men in uniform, have the day you deserve.
Yes, that is all that Americans are saying. Trump could have won the elections, but it seems some of the things that he's doing are not really sitting well with most white Americans. And that is what people get when they elect presidents or they elect their leaders with emotions that are not really based on actual things happening on the ground. If you look at the economic state of America right now, there is no way inflation can be easily reduced because Trump economic policies have demonstrated to have negative impact on the entire economic setup. So voting him because he is white does not really guarantee that as a white person, things are going to be easy for you. If you look at his proposal in the Big Beautiful Bill, he has just focused on ensuring that his wealthy friends get tax cuts. Whether this will trickle down to the middle class in America, that is not known. But the reaction of electing Trump is currently dawning on most Americans. And that is what they have to say. Share your thoughts down in the comment section. And if you're watching us for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, and share. Thank you, and let's meet on the next one.